What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of the Kershaw 2-pack 1338WM. This is a very special knife. Out of all the budget folders, and I mean super budget folders, the sub $20 folders that I have ever seen, I might be saying that this is the best one. And let's go over why real quick. Some quick specs. You've got a 3.25 inch cutting edge classic drop point blade with an upper swedge that is sharp immediately out of the package. This is brand new, by the way. And then you have a 7 7/8, call it 8 inches body. The stock of the blade is likely 0.09 or 0.1, very thin stock, which is to be expected. You have what looks like a peel ply textured G10, but it's actually a peel ply textured plastic on top of what I am convinced is an aluminum plate on top of a steel liner. So we have plastic, then aluminum, then steel, and then you have an open body construction, and then more steel on the other side, and it is a frame lock. You can see here right out of the box, if I can get her to focus here, we're engaging at about 60-70%, which is pretty normal for these knives. This is an assisted opening folding knife, so just like the other ones, you kind of gradually put pressure down and it's gonna fire out. So, but this one does, you can see here where this starts. Look where the spring starts, clear up here. That thing really kicks, and it's going to stay in there. This is not one that you can whip out. It's not going anywhere. I'm sure that looked ridiculous. But anyways, we've got a semi-deep carry. This is a very classic Kershaw pocket clip. Semi-deep carry Kershaw pocket clip with that divot in there that I like. Unfortunately, this is one of the only things I'm going to hit it on. It's only right-hand tip-down carry. There is no other position. So sorry lefties, and sorry other people like me who prefer tip up. But the rest of the knife is good enough that I don't really have much to complain about in that department. This is another one of those knives where the pocket clip actually acts as a partial over travel stop. It sits partially on the frame, and partially where the frame lock would go if you were to overextend it. So if I'm going to push this over here, you can see it interacts with the pocket clip. That is definitely on purpose. It's not going to totally prevent it, but it's a good design. For that reason, I can deal with this being a tip down carry, because I can understand why they put the pocket clip there. So that's totally fine with me. The reason that I say this is a great knife for the money is, number one, it's built substantially for the price range. So I don't have any reservations about putting this through rubber or wood or materials that I would consider to be, hard use materials for a folding knife. We've got a classic drop point blade, which is extremely utilitarian. There's not too many arguments are going to be made against the utility of a drop point blade. You've got a one-handed opening and closing method, functional thumb studs, functional flipper. The blade is centered. What the heck? Can you believe that? It's centered. I mean, pretty darn close. Between those two liners there, it's very close to center. Doesn't rub. No blade play whatsoever. Up, down, left, right. It's totally solid. I did test this with two hands before I started filming, so I can't show you on camera with two hands, but believe me, there's no blade play. And then you've got simple construction here. You've got a Torx pivot, other side hidden underneath the pocket clip. Two body screws on this side, one that holds down this deal right here, but it's also being held down by the pivot, so no worries there. And then two on the other side with your standoffs in the middle. So yeah, you've got a simple construction frame lock that's got two means of deployment. It's a great shape. It's got great ergonomics with some functional jimping up here, which is pretty great. It will fill out your hand if you have larger hands, or, it'll fill out your hand if you've got smaller hands. This is kind of a big, small knife. It is a little heavy. I'm going to say it's probably 5.5 ounces, and it doesn't look like that, but there's a lot of steel on here. But knives like this, it's about the dimensions. You know, I never did the Hinderer comparison. Let's do the comparison here. Stay there, bud. So, pivot to pivot. The Hinderer is a little bit longer, but I can carry the Hinderer every day, and it's at about 6 ounces, and it's a wider or taller carry than this knife. So, dimensionally, this is why I love this thing. It's built substantially, but it's a thin carry knife. You know, this way it's pretty thin. It's still thinner than the Hinderer, so I'm used to that. But the body itself is not obtrusive in the pocket. So you've got kind of a hard use budget folder, you know, that carries pretty light. It doesn't have anything in the way of premium materials. The blade, I'm pretty sure, is 3CR13, which is definitely an entry-level steel. Don't expect too much from this. It is coated with this titanium nitride carbon something or other coating. If it's actually got titanium in it, it'll offer some sort of corrosion resistance. The frame is also coated in that, but it's likely more for looks than anything else. You're going to be resharpening this a lot, but hey, you know, if you've got $15 to spend on one of these on the secondary market because you can't get them in the 2-pack anymore, this is definitely worth it. Absolutely. As a beater knife or just something to throw in your truck or whatever. Let's do the pocket challenge. So there she is in the pocket here. Reach in, pinch right there, your finger gets in that divot. Pull her out, deploy it, use it, disengage. Put it away with one hand, which it can do all of those things. So that's good. It passes the test in my book. But, you know, the big thing is the design. You know, this is a very aesthetically appealing design, very classic design. You know, they're not doing anything new here. They're just they're not fixing what isn't broken, basically, and they're putting together you know, basic materials in a shape that's very, very functional and appealing in a lot of ways. So, you know, like I said, if I only had $10-15, this is the best thing that I've ever seen in that price range. And I'm sure there's other stuff out there, and I'm sure I'm going to change my mind a lot as more and more things come into my hands. But man, this is a really, really good option. You know, the only thing that might bother some people is the weight, but you know, consider the dimensions before you consider the weight. If this weighed a pound, then yeah, you know, I get that. But 5.5 ounces versus even, you know, 3.5 ounces, there's going to be a lot of people who say, oh, that's a huge difference. You know, I don't know. I tend to disagree. I'm going to go more for carryable dimensions, or favor that over whether or not it's heavy by the community's standards. There is a nice, I want to say generous by width lanyard hold, certainly not by height, but you can get a lanyard in there, though I kind of question the position of the blade. Let's see how close that actually gets. Hard to tell. It looks like it'll actually clear it, so no issues there. The lines and the fit and finish on this are actually pretty impressive. You can see here that everything meets up pretty much the way you'd expect. You don't have any massive gaps on any sides of the hardware. The pivot fits nicely. The body screws fit nicely. You know, the one thing I noticed is right here, this plastic overlay kind of sits awkwardly over this texturing. And the first thing I thought was, oh, I wonder if there's like clearance underneath there, if there's, you know, if it's not tight. And it is. It's definitely tight down to the bottom, so there's nothing like awkwardly hanging over. You don't have one of these edges, you know, sticking up over the other one. That's definitely flush. Things are rounded off nicely, and this machining they do on the steel is pretty cool too. Again, for the money that you're paying for it. So really no issues there. There was another thing I was going to go over. I'm sure I'll remember it after I watch this video. But just give you a nice look at the knife here. I really like the color of the coating on this. You know, I'm not convinced the coating serves a major purpose, but it does make the knife look nice. The thumb studs do not have Torx heads, so if they start to get loose, they're just going to be that way. There's really no way to tighten them back down, unless you can get like a you can get a wrench on there and or vice grips or something, and then just twist them over. But you're likely going to damage them in that process. This is just a really great knife. I actually even like it more than the other one that comes in the 2-pack, and it's specifically because that one just feels a little bit more plasticky, it's still good for the money, but I think this one's a little bit better. That's pretty much it today, guys. I just wanted to go over this and kind of show it and give another good option for a budget everyday carry knife. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, and if you'd like to check out my other content, there's lots of other stuff that I've got, cheap knives I do and don't like, and also some expensive knives that I like too. So check that out, and if you enjoy that content, then please subscribe and turn that notifications button on, because there's definitely more coming. Have a great day, guys.